Welcome to Guns and Gems. Not sure if this is going to be the final name for this. It's definitely a work in progress to say the least, as I work on building this, creating the structure, and really figure out what I want to present. It's something that I've had rolling around my brain as I've started personally growing a lot more this year. I started working in the firearm industry earlier this year, and I learned a ton, and I couldn't really find a podcast that fit my niche that I wanted. Um, I think that there are many, many good gun podcasts out there. Gun talk radio, primary and secondary, all types of ones, but they can get very technical very fast. Um, and sometimes when I hop into an episode of one of those, it can get very confusing and it just feels like I'm trying to take a drink from a fire hydrant. And so another huge, huge passion of mine is fitness. And so I wanted to be able to marry these two topics together, and I think that there's a lot of overlap. Staying fit, tactical fitness, just being ready, and I feel like the communities many times can overlap. Um, Not all the time, but there seems to be a significant overlap from what I've noticed, I guess. Um, I wanted a gun podcast that beginners could easily listen to. People could learn a lot of information. And so this first season is going to be dedicated to teaching basics, terminology, and as I'm learning more stuff, I'm going to be sharing it. I'm going to be doing a lot of research about different products, about the science behind things to really be able to present things in an accessible manner. So, to make this really easy and accessible, I'll be marking the technical episodes, so the episodes mainly about firearms, with the classic college style 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, etc., with the denotations to help listeners decide where to begin. I want to make sure that people are not being left behind by terminology if I refer to something. And so that's kind of the idea of it, you know? So it's suggested that you listen to the 100s first before the higher levels, as I will use terminology covered in lower to better explain the higher level topics and ideas. I want to make this accessible. So, for example, maybe I'm just trying to think of an example of how this might work. I guess maybe barrels would be a good example for ARs. So, maybe a level 100. We talk about barrel length, calibers. We briefly talk about twist rates. Maybe I just cover optimal twist rates for different calibers. But then level 200, we're talking about materials. So we're looking at different types of materials you can choose, chrome line, nitride barrels, that big debate. We really get into that. And then maybe level 300, we really talk about ballistics, what you want to do with it. If you want to do long range, okay, here's what we're doing. If you want, how to optimize your weapon, and really get into it. And so building upon what we learned in level 100 and level 200, how to pick the perfect one for your task might be important. So I guess that's a kind of a good way to explain how this is going to work. I think my goal is just going to be figuring out a way to really present this in a manner that anyone can understand, pick up, and go. So the gym episodes will be listed as such, and then they won't have the number, and then there is going to be episodes about guns that won't need a number, but just the ones that I know that I'm going to get very technical with them, or we're talking about, the ones that can get more technical and complex will have that listing. Ones where I'm wanting to talk about, I have one scheduled for December that's called gifts for the gym rat and gifts for the gun nut, and don't know if that's what they're going to come out as, but those ones obviously don't take prior understanding to do that, whereas another episode style might. So that's kind of the structure and that's kind of the plan. So look out for those, the way that I'm marking those episodes. So a little bit about me. Who am I? I'm not trying to be cagey or mysterious, but for now, I'm going to be private and I'll be respecting the privacy of my guests unless they want unless they want their name out there. So if they have a business, they want to promo that, that's awesome. But I am probably going to keep my identity a little bit more on the secret side. If you know who I am, please do not go posting that. I appreciate everyone's respect of my privacy personally. To begin with my background, I've been shooting guns for a while, more on the rifle shotgun side, started into pistols, into high school, college, I'd say, ever since I could rent them from the local gun range. I have quite a bit of pistol shooting experience and helping people buy pistols because that's what our store tends to gravitate towards that I work at. It's more of a black rifle and pistol store, so tactical oriented versus hunting. So I will also be bringing on people that know more about that if I decide to cover that in the future. I tend to work with a lot of females and beginner shooters, helping them figure out exactly what they want, and so that's kind of my area of expertise of talking to people about functionality, application of shooting, and just really helping beginners get off the ground, which I really enjoy doing. I will be bringing in guests to fill knowledge gaps and bring a variety of well-rounded experiences to the podcast. As for my fitness background, I began to be a trainer at 18, but I was working out all through high school and college. It was something that I felt like I could really control, and it was like a science experiment. I mean, I would do something and then I would see results. I worked at a big gyms as a trainer. I didn't love it, but I learned a lot, and so I value those experiences. I did online training, and now I'm focusing on some private training right now too. I'm currently training for a competition in either 2023 or 2024, so I do National Physique Committee, I think it is, NPC bodybuilding competitions in the bikini division. I really enjoy that just from the people that I met and what I'm learning about myself. So we're seeing more and more muscle in those divisions, and so I am going to have to take a long time to build, which I welcome the challenge. It's tough. I sometimes feel like I'm not really seeing the forest through the trees, but it's part of the journey, and I'm just having to really exercise and learn patience. My real career is not in guns or in fitness, actually, and so the gym and fitness really give me an outlet for having a space that is consistent and I can see, like, success that I can see, and that means a lot to me. Because sometimes in my day job, things get out of hand and are out of my control, but with the gym, I have that. And so that's why I've really prioritized fitness in the last few years, is because of the career job that I have. So I really hope everyone enjoys this podcast. I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. I want to be able to provide good information, and so I'm not sure if this is going to be a weekly podcast or a bi-weekly or a monthly podcast. I want to be able to provide high quality, well put information, and right now it's just me, so I'm doing this on my own while balancing all these other things that I have in my life. So I'm going to try and be consistent with this. That's the best I can do right now, but hopefully I'm able to get in some awesome guests. And I would rather have a high quality podcast that comes out once a month than a podcast that's daily or weekly, where I'm seeing the quality of it start slipping. So right now I don't have any social media. This is just this podcast, but I'll be putting some up. So as I'm doing that, check the episode description and check the podcast description. Feel free to leave me a 5-star. I'd really, really appreciate that. And look out for the next episode because I'm excited to get this podcast on its way.